Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today, I'm taking a look at Banishers Ghosts of New Eden on the PlayStation 5. Now, this game came out a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of met with a fairly warm reception from reviewers and gamers. It's divided some people, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But essentially, this is a supernatural action adventure game. Now, at the start of the game, you are called to a place called New Eden by an old friend called Charles. And the reason you're called there is because you are a banisher. And at the start of the game, you play as two characters, Red and Antea. Antea is the female character, and she's Red's mentor. She's been teaching him everything that he would need to know about becoming a banisher, but they're also lovers. Now, they get to New Eden, and they underestimate the threat that awaits them. Their friend Charles is dead, and they are way over their heads. This ends up with the death of Antea, who then comes back as a ghost and leaves Red with two very simple choices. He can look to resurrect her, in which case it would mean committing murder and plenty of them, or he can work towards giving her the send-off she deserves so that she can kind of, get sent to ascend up to heaven, sort of thing. So while there, you've got to kind of make your way back to reclaim Antea's body from where she was killed, in order to do either of these things you choose. And the game lets you choose which you want to do, and it will kind of change the direction of the story, if you like, or certainly the direction of your character. So you've got quite a long journey to get back to find Antea's body, and along the way you kind of meet different ghosts, spirits, things like that. You've got to kind of solve spiritual cases, help out people, go on missions, quests, side missions, all that kind of stuff. Right, what are my thoughts on Banishers Ghosts of New Eden? Well, I have to say that I am really enjoyed my time with this game. I think the first thing to talk about is the game's presentation, because it's exceptional. I mean, I think the game looks really beautiful, very impressive graphics, very impressive presentation, incredibly strong voice acting, and a really well-written story that keeps you interested and immersed throughout the whole time you're playing this game. At no time was I playing this game did I kind of think, well, this is repetitive, or this is dull, or I'm not enjoying the story, sort of thing? No, it does give you plenty to do in the game, and it's got some pretty cool mechanics. The biggest drawback on this game, and you may well have already heard this or read this, is the combat. So I'm quite a tolerant gamer. I'm at the stage in my life where I don't get really cross too much playing games, and I kind of avoid games that I know is going to frustrate me. Now, this is from the same people that made the game Vampire a couple of years ago, and that's a game I greatly enjoyed, and you can see the blueprint of that game in this game. But this is like a level up, and the combat in Vampire wasn't the best either. So I think if this, if these are really going to develop their skills, I think they really need to work a little bit on the combat side of things, because I do agree the combat is a little bit naff. So what you do really in this game, as I've mentioned, is you're solving like supernatural cases along the way on your quest to kind of find Antea's body and confront this really powerful supernatural entity that killed her. So you're like on the journey. There's excuse me, you'll kind of do exploration around like certain sections of the map. You're going off on certain missions or investigations. You've got resources that you can collect along the way, and these resources are needed to upgrade all your gear that you come across, and that includes what you wear, your weapons. You've got like rings that you wear that'll give you different buffs and powers. But also at the same time, you've got things that you can equip to Antea as well. Because while you're traveling along in this game, while she is a spirit, she's also your ally, and she will fight alongside you. So at any time in the game, you can switch by pressing the triangle button between Red and Antea. Red's does the physical attacks, and if you like, Antea does like the spiritual attacks. But she also has uses on the map because she can see things that Red can't. So while you're walking around the environments and the map, Red's wearing like a special ring, and it will kind of glow. I think it's like a bright blue sort of thing, or green. And that will tell you that there is something supernatural around there that only Antea is going to be able to see. So you'll switch characters, and then depending if you are strong enough or if you've unlocked this ability sort of thing, you might be able to unlock new sections of the map. You might find some like treasure, all that kind of stuff, or some fresh resources. And going around the map as well, you will spot like nests, like ghostly nests that if you do a ritual, the correct ritual at this nest, it will kind of raise up all these spirits, different versions of spirits, and then you've got to take them all down to defeat the nest sort of thing. So there is plenty to do here in the game. There is a reason to explore because you need the resources. It kind of keeps it interesting swapping between the two characters, between Red and Antea. And also as well, there is a nice variety of different spiritual demons, ghosts, whatever you want to call them. Well, the ghosts. And there are different versions of them. There's like simple, basic ghosts that are quite easy to take down. There are other ghosts that can possess like the dead. So if you if there's like a dead wolf on the floor or a dead human, the spirit can possess it, and it becomes a little bit more powerful. This body that it's possessed, you take that out, and then you've got to again take that spirit out that possessed it. There's other things as well, and every time you're introduced to a new enemy, it kind of gives it this nice little cutscene. But the combat really doesn't evolve much further than with Red. You've got a light attack, a heavy attack, dodge, parry, and then you've got like the banish button. And then when the banish bar, you can see the orange bar there. When that fills up, you just thrust your hand into the spirit's chest, and it's banished. So it's like a special move sort of thing that you can do now and again. But also as well, you can upgrade both Red's abilities and Antea's abilities, so that, for example, if you get like skill points, and you can unlock things like, after the third light attack, Antea will jump in, like tag in and finish off with a strong move, or so on and so forth. The sort of thing. It's nothing major or anything. And you could argue there's light RPG elements here, but I would say this is far more of an action adventure in the mold of Jedi, Survivor and Fallen Order. It's that type of game, really. Now, along the way, it does give you choices, as you can see here. When you've solved a case, it will usually give you a very clear indication as to what you should do, what is the morally correct thing to do, because sometimes you'll come across a spirit that is innocent, really, so the right thing to do is kind of ascend it. Sometimes you'll come across a spirit that's pretty evil, so the right thing to do is banish it. Or if you are choosing to resurrect Antea, you can ignore all of them things and just basically blame the humans all the time in these investigations, and that will end up with them being murdered and give you a little bit more power to go towards her resurrection. So if you want to go down the dark path, that's how you do it, really. And I really do quite like that aspect of it. There's a mechanic where you kind of rest. You can kind of rest at certain places, and that will allow you to upgrade your equipment, your weapons, clothing, so on and so forth. Evolve your characters, or rest and kind of refill your health meter, I suppose. You've got like these three things that you can take that kind of give you your health back, and you can unlock certain things that will give you like more of them. So it's got a few interesting mechanics going on. But it's one of those games that I really enjoyed when it was. I really enjoyed like the investigations, because I like detective games. So even though they're nowhere near as in depth as like a good detective game, like the spiritual investigations, they're really quite well written, most of them, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Easily the worst part of this game is the combat, but as I've said, because everything else is so impressive in my opinion, I could tolerate the fairly poor and repetitive combat. It's not horrific. I've played much worse than this game, but it's not really intuitive, and it's not. I mean, for me, it's just not fun to really do much of the combat, and it does get fairly dull. And you are quite pleased when you come across a new enemy. And the camera angles don't help as well sometimes with some of the fighting that you're doing. But I've really been immersed in the story. I think the story has been really very well written, and the character of Red in particular is one of, I think, the best protagonists in the game I've seen for quite some time, if I'm being honest. He's got a real fun sense of humour. He's got a real dry sense of humour. He's always coming out with little one-liners. But at the same time as well, it's a bit of a love story between Red and Antea, and I think the game does that really, really well as well. You know, the fact that they are very much in love, and it's devastating what's happened to them. The fact that, she is dead now and now a spirit. So the game gives you some unique, interesting things to do along the way. You've got your moral decisions that you want to make. The story, I think, is superbly done. The voice acting is superbly done. The game looks fantastic, in my opinion. So I'm definitely going to give this one a solid 8 out of 10. It's a fun game to play if you are tolerant of the combat side of things, because that, as I've mentioned, is the weakest part of it. But if you can kind of ignore that, if you're a tolerant gamer, then underneath that is a really nicely made game. And in actual fact, it's a game I would like. It's a series I'd like to see maybe expanded on with a sequel if this one does well enough. So thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it useful. I will be back, of course, with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.